yeux de lumière qui voient passer au loin les oiseaux.
Part of the discussion is actually, or at least of the thinking, is, I mentioned last time, this beautiful sentence, ubo societas ibi jus est, the Latin, the old Latin language, which is ancient. We don't use it anymore. And at the same time, we have now this modern, top modern equipment. So it's in a little bit, it's a metaphor of this contradiction in terms of law. When we talk about law, we always have some kind of contradiction. Because that's, we discussed this last time, basically law is only there if there is society, and society is full of contradictions. Meaning there are two people, there it starts, and they have different interests. And that's whatever you have, from trade law, from commercial law, you have two people, one wants to sell something, one wants to buy something, so there are two different interests. To international law, where you simply have different traditions, and it's starting really from trying to find a consensus. We will come later back to this, what it actually means in terms of human rights. Because I said as well, for a long time, the discussion on human rights didn't exist because there had not been the states. And human rights law, international human rights law, is about law that regulates states. And the modern nation state, as we say, is a more or less recent invention. More or less recent. And mind, when I talk about more or less, that's about 300 years, that's nothing. So we are talking really about long, long periods where 300 years is not a long time. So this is something we have to be aware of. It is about history. And then we have in history different phases. What would you suggest? Different phases. What does it mean? Different histories.
Different interests.
Different histories in terms of length. You all have your own history. I don't know, I'm very bad in guessing age. But you say something that happened yesterday, it's not history, it's present. Something that happened 2 years, 3 years ago, it's kind of a long time ago. But then you say, well, it's actually not really long time ago, because I'm not just 3 years old. Let's say I'm 20, and then 3 years is nothing, but 10 years is a long time ago. And this is what we have in history as well. There's a French school actually that works with it, that says there is a short-term history. These are the events, that is what happens today that matters. And then we have a long-term history. This is the traditions we have. And this is in human rights discussions, it's a huge issue that China, that Europe has, of course, a different history. And then we talk about China, or we talk about Asia, and we talk about Europe. But then I say always, you can't say it's Europe. It is Germany, it's France, it's Italy, or whatever. You have the different spaces as well. So it's not necessarily a conflict in terms of of a combat, but it's at least something you can think about. You are, well, nearly all from different countries, that you have different experiences, short term and long term. So this is always something you have to keep in mind. And then we have to think, we are acting in history and in space. We are doing something here and now. So that's the first. I'll try this one. Modern technology. This is important to be aware of these two dimensions. And then we can say, let's try this. We actually are acting as well in the there, meaning in another place, international human rights law, and in then. What can then mean? Then? Another time. Not now, but?
In the past.
Okay. In the past and in the future. And this is important to keep in mind. We come back later to the details, but when they had been sitting down after the Second World War, basically, drawing up this Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they had been sitting down not one day, but this brief period, and working on something. A small group, more or less small group, sitting there, meaning sitting here, and they were doing it in a specific time. As I said, human rights law had not been discussed in ancient Greek or ancient Rome or ancient China as such, but there had been always these ideas of what human rights could be about. And what is it? What is human rights? What would you say spontaneously? What is your understanding of it? Define human rights. For emotionally, what somebody asked, you are studying human rights. I don't know anything about law and rights, and what is it?
For me, I think human rights is like every people not must, have a right.
Try to think very simple. Every people, every person, that's already very good. So very simple. And it may be, if usually I don't encourage you, but maybe that in your own language, that you think in your own language for an exception.
I know how to say my own language, but I will translate it.
Well, the first thing is it's about humans. Meaning it's not about tables. It's not about animals. It's not about trees.
It's about human person.
Then right, I don't know, that's why I said in your own language, there is something with right, the term right. You have rights. And there is something in English language as well, or at least in other European languages as well. It is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's correct. So you have the two dimensions of rights. You have a right. I have the right to stand here. And it is as well the right thing to do. It's as well the right thing to sit down. But it is not the right thing to sit down and wait until 5 o'clock or 20 past 5 and say nothing. So it is these two things. Right difficult writing. Something is correct, and right is something you can claim. You can claim that I'm saying something. You can claim that you say something as well, in terms of asking questions, in terms of making contributions. And now we come back to the here and there, or here and now, and the history. It's different things. As I said briefly, slaves had not been, in the ancient societies, had not been considered as human beings. So there was no discussion about their rights of slaves as human beings. There had been another discussion. So that is important. Who is considered as human being?
Slaves.
Hmm?
Slaves.
Slaves, not.
I think first one in the history, they don't have a right, human right. So that's why they think we must, how to say, like, about, they started to think about equality. So that's why they're thinking about the human right.
Yeah, it had been kind of extended. There had been, if you want more and more people.
You mean just who started to talk about the human rights and maybe the slaves who don't have a right, they started to talk about.
There had been in history important battles actually. Spartacus was one, when the slaves stood up and said, okay, we are not part of the ruling class, but we have rights. You cannot do with us whatever you want, in your opinion. But we have rights because we are human beings. And this is the difference, human being in biological terms, that's relatively clear. Now, there may be a little bit of difference. Where do you start in history? Is it still the monkey? Is it still the ape? Or is it already human beings? That doesn't interest us here. Actually, it may interest us at some stage in terms of artificial intelligence. So, is this still a human being, or is it already a computer, a robot? But okay, this is not important at this stage. But the question of human beings as biological entities, that's clear. But as social entity, that had been somewhat contested. So slaves, we said, they had not been considered as human beings. They started, as you rightly say, to claim the right. Now there is one important thing, I mentioned it already. Why was it not claiming human rights in the modern sense? Fascinating. Do you remember I mentioned last time we can talk about human rights and human rights with small letters and with capital letters. So this one is which one? Generally humans saying, I am a human being and I have rights. This one is what is the core of this course, the human rights law. The jurisdiction, the legal system, the institutions that are not just saying, okay, you are a human being, you should have the right, but a legal system that makes it possible to claim human rights. But I mentioned it only briefly. We will come back later to this when we talk about the institutional system. These rights are only against states, the control of states. It's not about, but Pete he mistreated me. This was not humane. He shouldn't have done this. This was against my right as human being. This is not this one. That's this one. You cannot go to the Human Rights Court and say, but he mistreated me. He disrespected my human rights. You can discuss it here. You can go actually to the local court and they will look after it. But human rights is only that the state actually observes and secures human rights, the rights of humans. So in detail we will talk about it later. But then this was the human part now, more or less. Then we have the rights part. I said there are the two dimensions, something that is correct, that's the right thing to do, and some right I have. What does it mean actually? Why do we say something is, that's the right thing to do? Now we have all these beautiful devices, modern blackboards, but as well we have increasingly self-steering cars. The automatic driving, there's no driving in it. It's programmed. Now there is a legal problem to this. And this is part of the conflicts we have in law. imagine and make up your opinion. There is one of these cars, and it's an empty road. There's a limitation of the speed limit, 50 kilometers per hour. Now there is the driver and 3 people in the back, or 3 people in the car. 1 next to the driver, 2 in the back. So that's 4 people. No, it's dark, it's rainy, it's no clear view. And out of a sudden, there is a group of 20 people crossing the street, coming out of the darkness. Now the car driver has one option. He can't stop anymore, it's too late. Option 1 is, bad luck, they should have looked after themselves. I just drive on, try to slow down, try to stop, but it will most likely kill them. The other option, that's 20 people. The other option, 4 people in the car, there is a wall, and I can drive against the wall. 4 people killed, 20 saved, means 16 more saved than I drive into it. What is the right thing to do? They're all humans. It's no rabbit crossing the street or whatever.
Do you understand the stories told at Professor? No. Do you understand the story? No.
So the one thing is, you drive, you do what you do. And there are certain consequences to it. And the other story is, you basically kill 4 people. You kill yourself and the 3 people in the car because you are driving against the wall. And the other thing, it just happens. But there are 16 more people. There are 20 people killed. You had been driving there. They should not have walked across the street. In the other case, you kill somebody intentionally because there was no force to drive against the wall. So what do you do? Do you decide actively killing somebody? Or do you say, well, I didn't decide that they crossed the street. It just happens. It's a legally difficult question. The one is murder. You kill somebody, you drive against the wall. You decide, I will kill them. In legal terms, it's simply murder.
So do you understand the story then? Yeah. So what's your opinion?
The story is we drive in a car, and this side is 1 person. This one is prostitute, right? And we will choose to kill someone.
Change the direction to another 4 people. Then
It's in the one case, if you drive against the wall, you actively kill 4 people. That's your decision.
Which one?
I will kill 4 people. In the other case, you will actually kill 20 people,
20 people.
but that's an accident. In the first case, it's murder. You say, okay, I drive against the wall. I know nobody will survive. We are driving 50 miles per hour. There is so much power, energy, we will be dead. In the other case, bad luck.
So what's your choice?
The 4 people.
4 people.
Because I will choose small. This one is 4 people, this one is 20 people. But we don't have another chance, right? Like, we don't have another chance. Like, stop a car or something. Just choose.
Just the 2.
Okay, so I choose 4.
Others? 4 people? 20 people?
You们都会讲英语，会吗？会讲英语？我会讲，但你听不懂。啊？听不懂？听不懂？你看，都听不懂。
So how many will kill 4 people? Who is in favor of 4 people? 1? The rest is 20 people? You have to decide. 20? 4?
你们可以说意见，然后让这个同学帮你翻译，可以就用自己的语言说，一些讨论 ，let them discuss。
So 4 people? Because it's for only not 20. 4 people? 20 people? No, in the meantime, they're all dead, the 4 and the 20. So, 4, 20? How many? 20. 20, okay. And why? Why 20? It's okay, I don't complain, it's fine. Who else would drive into the 20? You all said the others all said you would drive into the 20. Why? What's the reason to say, okay, I won't kill the 4, I will kill the 20, or the 20 will be dead afterwards? So exactly, this is what is called, the one thing is consequential. I calculate 4 people, 20 people, 16, okay. I save 16 lives basically, because 4 people in any case they are gone. Even if I drive against the wall, 4 people are gone. In the other case, 20 people are gone. So 4 people are part of 20, so that's a simple calculation. The other is called categorical. I do not drive, I do not actively kill, I do not decide to kill somebody. Actively. I do it passively, if you want, because I can say it's their fault. So you knew, you could see that I'm coming.
But we don't have another chance. You told me we don't have another chance, like go straight or stop car.
That's too late.
We have only 2 choices.
Exactly. And this is what it is relevant in terms of artificial intelligence. You have to program today these cars what they do. So even in some decisions like this, you have kind of human rights. Do I respect the right, or the right of whom do I respect? Because now you have a different story, kind of the same. It's daylight, you see, it's too late to brake, but you can see there are, for elderly people, for young people, and for mothers or for parents with a pram. What do you do? It's a matter of choice. You can go here for old people. You can turn to the left. For young people, you can turn further to the left, and then it's the parents with the pram. Little baby. So then you kill automatically. Well, let's make it just in terms of numbers. You have 2 parents and 2 toddlers. Who is more human being? That's the question.
For me, I think the public opposite. Public, right?
Okay.
Is the most. It's when I have more 16 people. I say more 16 people, right? If I choose 4 people.
Well, here you have in any case 4 people.
Young or old, or age?
It's 4, I don't know, no, it's switched off. You have 4, two young, two children, 2 toddlers, and 2 parents of 20, 30 years of age. Then you have 2 elderly, and then you have 2 middle-aged. So it's your decision, basically, again, who is more human? No, but this is exactly this conflict that you do not have clear criteria. And you have, we talked last time about it, discussed, actually, you always live in society. And now you can have, actually, you can make up different reasons. Social reasons, that you say, actually, these elderly people, they did so much for society, they lived their life, they lived a good life, and I respect them because they are old and because they have this merit of being respected. And then you can say the young, actually they are true, they are not involved at all. and they don't know anything about what is coming. And then you can say as well, the other way around, but the two toddlers in particular, they have the entire life in front of them. So the elderly, I don't know the average age in China, let's say average age is something like 75, and they are 73, so 2 years left, compared with 73. A simple calculation. And then you can say you have the middle-aged. Let's assume they are well qualified. They are standing in the middle of their productive life. Actually, they should be saved because we need workforce. The old, it's fine, but it's not really valuable. You can't put a price tag on it. But there is no need for a price tag. And this is something I forgot the details, but there had been a survey made. How much do you, or for how much money would you be ready, for whatever reason, to lose a finger, to lose your arm, to spend an organ? You have 2 lungs, you have, I don't know, the kidneys, you can get rid of one, sell it. How much would you ask for it? This is interesting, where people actually, they didn't have a choice as well, where people said, okay, a finger, it's not really so expensive, I can do without. How much do you think you are worth in terms of money, and which parts? And this is, of course, something you cannot decide. And this is what we have even today when it comes then to work. Now, of course, as an abstract decision, how much do you estimate is your small finger worth? That's not relevant. But if you say, I enter work and risk to lose the finger, to lose the hand, to lose I don't know what, then it's a relevant question. So we have to find a way to value life. I'm not talking now about parts of life, but to value life. What is the value of life? How can we measure it, actually? Coming back to the last time, I said there is a child playing, and you can save it. It's playing in the middle of the road, it's running onto the road, trying to catch the ball, and you want to save the life of the child, but there is the danger that you are getting killed, actually. There's a bus coming, you can just run there, get the child, grab the child, get it out of the way, but you are caught by the bus. Would you go? You understood the situation. You are there on the pedestrian way. Mm-hmm. You first see the ball, then you see the child running into the middle of the road. And then there is a bus or truck coming, and you can run to the child, grab it, get it out of the way, but you are hit by the bus. Would you do it? Or would you say, I'm not responsible for the child? Leave the child? It's a human being. But you are as human as well. So. Now we have three situations. The one is you have to decide according to categories. I do not actively kill somebody. The other is I kill somebody actively, but I calculate actually, I have a utility, it's called. I put a value on it. It's 16 people against 4 people. So I calculate 4 people is less than 16. It's better. The other is, there is a category, I do not kill actively somebody, meaning I do not decide what I have to do when I go against the wall. I do not decide whom I kill, or that I kill somebody. Now with the other things, especially with the last decision, it's a little bit of procedure. You can decide, and you can look for a decision, for criteria of the decision, what you want to do. You can say, oh, the child did have a choice, it's old enough. And I decide now the value of my life compared with the value of the child's life. Now you can play through it with many different examples. One here would be, you decide actually, you have, it's your child, you are there with the child, and you say to the child, if you want to catch the ball, do it. It's your decision, but I won't save you. Mind, there is a bus. So the important point is really these different decisions or the different criteria. Categories, there is a principle, there are certain things I do not do. Consequential, what happens and what is worse, A or B? Number of people killed, age of the people, and then the social aspect. Elderly are more, the value of elderly is higher than that of children, or the other way around. Children are very important, are very valuable, not only economically, but just the life of children, full of development, full of potential, full of joy. So I will decide for the, Or I have an economic point. So what are the consequences? Categories, here it's consequences. And then procedures. Who has this is very important in terms of human rights then, what is called sovereignty. The sovereignty of people. The decision, the right of people to decide. The right and the ability. Can people decide for themselves? And what are the conditions there? This is important when it comes to decision making and decision taking about these human rights. You have to decide who is human, who is a human being, and then you have to decide what are the rights and why do they have this right? Or why do I deny this right? Because there are the situations where we don't have a third option, where we only have option 1 or option 2. Where the interests are different, and where there is, at the moment at least, no way of deciding or finding a decision that satisfies both. So conflict. This means as well you have to keep in mind what I said towards the end of last time, what kind of theory, is it a critical theory or is it a problem solving? And these are decisions that came up last time in the debate a little bit, that sometimes you have to take these decisions, even if you think everything is given, everything is, I can't really change anything. Okay, I would suggest we make a break here to start then with something more or less new. Take a break to think about difficult decisions.